It rained all day yesterday, but he will not be deterred. He's back out setting order to his yard. It's Dan the man on the rodent patrol. What's up, Danny? What are you doing, Danny? Hey, what are you doing, Danny? What's happening, Danny? Well, guys, I bring it on myself. Morning, everyone. My name's Bill. This is Pirate Solutions Forestry. And it rained all day yesterday for I think the fourth day out of the last 6 we've had pouring rain all day. I am waiting for Brian Carroll to come out and pick up the majority of his pole barn, at least all the structure part of it, his posts, top plates, and his rafters. So he's going to be here any time now. And today I'm trying to get a big mill job off my plate, which is this monster behemoth that's sitting next to me. A little over 14 feet long. It is a stone cold giant. There obviously are going to be a lot of challenges to go along with this. To add insult to injury, we have to grade saw this. This is going to be something a little different today. Normally, we're just cutting construction lumber. Well, today we're cutting for a woodworker who is looking for a lot of stock for his business. 4/4, 5/4, and 8/4. And he wants his stuff relatively clear. Now, he came out the other day to have a talk and walk around and tell me what he's looking for and show me pictures of what he does. And he's very, very creative. He does some really cool stuff. And he's a carver, and he likes to work in pine. Well, as we were walking around, and he was explaining that he needs mostly clear material. It doesn't need to be perfectly clear because he only needs chunks like this big to do what he does. So if you've got a mostly clear log, he's got to cut chunks out of it anyway. And he saw this big log sitting over here that we thought we were going to be cutting up for Brian's order for rafters, which we ended up cutting them out of smaller logs. Not much smaller, but smaller logs. And he said, well, how about, I don't see any limbs hanging out of that. How about I buy that whole log from you? So we took out our Doyle scale and we scaled the log. And I said, I looked at how much was in this log for board feet. And I said, yeah, sure. That's what we'll do. Now, there is a caveat here. We could cut this whole log apart and he might look at the boards and say, they're not going to work for me. Maybe there's too many knots in here. Now you can see in a big log like this, sorry about the wind noise if there is any. In a big log like this, you're going to have a lot of limbs that have grown into the tree over time. So there are going to be knots in this wood. And down near the center, there's going to be juvenile knots in this wood. So this is not going to be crystal clear. However, because of the size of it, he needs planks, he needs boards that are over 10 inch wide. 10 inch absolute minimum, he prefers 12 and maybe a little bigger. So what we're going to do with this, we're going to cube this into the biggest cant we can get. And then we're going to saw best face, best face, best face until we get down close to that 12, 10 mark. And then we'll just saw it out into whatever we decide. Give him a little bit of everything. I did ask him when I opened this log up, as I'm looking at the outside faces, if I see a really clear face, what is your dream thickness on that? So I know, hey, this is a really clear board. What is your dream thickness? And he said that he wants to start working in 5/4. So he told me 5/4. So whenever we get, as we're grade sawing it, when we get nice clean faces, we are going to cut 5/4, and we'll cut 5/4 until it bucks us. And then we'll spin it, look for a better face, and then we'll cut it out and see how it goes. So that's what's going on. I am going to very quickly, just to try to make my life easier, because this is about max of my mill right here. It's around 31 on the big end. To minimize all my turns and everything, I would like to figure out our cant size down here on the small end. And what I like to do is I like to mill down to my cant line of what my max cant will be, and then spin it. It minimizes my spins, especially on a big log like this. Once we get into a cant, we won't have any problem spinning it. But to be able to do that, I'm going to have to cut myself some clearance. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is throw on my earmuffs, do some measuring, and trim this down just a little bit, because with a log this big, it's got to be set almost perfect for you to be able to cut it. And you don't have a lot of wiggle room with your stops and everything else as far as getting it perfect. So if I can get it so that we can, once we get the top side off it, if we can turn it 90 degrees, if we can get that to happen, and then cut the top off the other side, really all our clearance issues go away, and then we can move the log around because we'll have the flats, and that makes it the simplest. So my goal is to get the top off it, spin it 90, cut the other top off it, and then all my clearance issues go away, and it becomes a normal everyday job. But just doing that on a big log like this, going to be a challenge. I'm going to take you along for the ride. I'm going to show you guys a little trick that I like to use to make sure I have guide clearance. So if you, on these little bunks down here, there's a rounded corner. That rounded corner is exactly the point where my guides will clear. So I like to come over to the metal, to the stainless steel rub plate here, and I can take my level over, use my plumb mark at the top of it. Now, this level's not in the best shape. It's been rode hard and put away wet. Once I get that plumb line set right there, I can go ahead and make a mark and know that I got to kind of trim this right here to have full clearance. Now, I'm not going to trim the entire log, but this will just get off any little problem spots that I could run into. Now, you can't just eyeball down and do it also. I'm going to do this on the other end as well if I have enough room to. And now I know that if I take that off and take that blue line off right there, there's a little bit of a swell right here in this dimension. If I take those off, I should be able to clear this all the way down. That just makes things simpler. I do have the big end down the far end, down the saw head end, the operator's end, the front of the mill, which is a controversial subject. And some people would say, well, you should never put the big end down there. You should always put the small end down there. Well, let me tell you this. If I'm going to run into a problem where I can't clear, I want to run into it right away. I don't want to run into it here while I'm in my cut. That's why on a big log like this, I always put my small end down the far end. All my clearance issues are going to be down right by the saw head, and I can see it before I even start the cut. All right, so while we're waiting for Brian to show up, before I have to load him, we're going to start whittling this thing down. As you guys can imagine, on something this big, everything's going to be a pile of suck. It's the slab wood's going to suck, the flitches are going to suck, turning it's going to suck, the whole thing's going to suck. Well, once we get it into a square, we're there. It looks like this is going to cant out maybe just a shade over 16 inches, which means that we're not really going to be doing a whole lot of grade sawn, because we can't take a whole lot off of 16 inches before we get down under his minimum. And I don't want to give him everything at his minimum. So I'm just not going to take it to 10 and then cut the whole cant out at, 10 inches wide. But we will do the best that we can. Top here, it looks like I got myself clearance. And I think I've got to come down to somewhere around 23 here. See if we can get it cleaned up there. Also, I am running that carbide band. I'm going to run that thing until it fails, guys. It's a piece of junk band. It jumps all over the place, but it still cuts flat. And The more money that I can make with it before I just have to give up on it, the better. So we're going to cut with the carbide band. This is a pretty dirty log. These are really deep furrows on a tree like this. Over the years, they just collect dirt. You don't have to roll a log like this around in the mud to have it be dirty. As they stand there for all the years this tree's been standing there, the furrows are just collecting stuff that blows around in the air and everything, and so it's going to be dirty. But let's see if we can get the top off it and get it spun, and maybe get the other side cleaned up before Brian gets here. This looks like a decent little skim cut right here. I'm going to go to 24 1/8 just in case I get a nice wide clear face. I can take a 4/4 board off at the edge later. Now if that band would have come out of the bark in the middle of the log, I would have gone back and started over. That was a nothing cut. We got to come to at least 23. We're going to try it at 23 now and see if we can get it somewhat cleaned up. And if we can, we'll probably just go ahead and spin it, guys, because I'm getting, that 23 gets me close to the outside of my 16-inch camp. And I think I got clearance. Should cut as much as I can cut while I got clearance. For his carving needs, there actually might be a couple of decent pieces in this. I'm going to throw it off the side. It's really wide. This face is really clear, wicked clear. There's only one knot in the whole thing. 10 wide minimum. I'm going to take one more here, guys. I'm going to take this down to 21 7/8. We're going to take another one. The good thing about this particular customer is that because he's carving organic shapes out of them, like mermaids and sea turtles and whales and stuff like that, and he carves 3D, so it's not just a flat cut out a whale with a jigsaw and paint it. He actually molds them round and does, carves the mouths and the teeth and the eyes and the whole 9 yards, the tail. That means that surface finish doesn't really matter. That's good. If we do cut a wave here or there, it probably doesn't matter, even though we cut nice and flat. It also doesn't matter if I take the bark off. So this is a perfectly good usable board, very, very clear and very, very wide for him. If we could just mill the whole log like this, wow, it's really clear. If we could mill the whole log like this, we probably would. It's nice and clear. There's one knot here. There's one little dinky piece of a knot right here, and that's it. Other than that, it's perfectly clear. All right, so I decided to spin it. We got to take this side down to It's really an arbitrary number, but approximately 23 inches. I'm going to whittle it a little bit because to see if we get some clear wood. My top cut, it's kind of hard to guess. There's still a little bit of a low spot in the center here. 26 is going to be somewhere around where we're going to start to clean up anyway. So I think I'll start at 26, see if we can take a chunk off this side. Hopefully you enjoy that other view. It's not good. I'm not thick and I'm not wide enough in the middle yet. So we don't need to drop. There's nothing big, well, maybe down there. I'm going to drop 1 inch. It's a dirty log. So we're at 26. We're going to come down to 24 7/8, take a flitch. I'm hoping Brian's going to show up to get his stuff out of here because I'm going to need the space to stack some of this stuff. There are, for this customer, there are a couple of usable pieces in that. We got 1, 2 knots here. Other than that, it's clear. I'm going to come down 1 more inch. It's going to be 23 3/4. And one thing's for sure is that this is going to saw out way more than the grade. So I am going to have to take these and average them out. It's just going to stink because I'm going to have to take them because they're going to be so big and heavy. But to get an actual board footage here of what he's going to get is going to be hard. So there's still 2 knots in this space. That's it. I'm going to take another 5/4. Now what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to set where I am. I'm going to set my 5/4 scale. It's actually on scale right now at 5/4. So I'm setting my 5/4 scale where I am before I go back. It's actually on scale at 23 1/2. And I'll drop 5/4. We'll take another board off it, lighten it up a little bit. And these are big, huge, wide, heavy boards. And we are still dealing with a really, really clear log here. 2 knots. That's it. I think I'm going to go ahead and spin it. And we'll start getting this thing closer to a square. So we're just going to take a measurement down this end and see where we got to get to clean up. Which doesn't really matter, guys, in this log. So the top of this is like at 18 right now. Just a little less than 18. I'm going to get a reasonably wide board at 17. So I think I want to clean up to about 17, which is mapping out about where we thought we were going to get to 16. We're going to get a really wide board at 17. We have to see where we are down there and see how much we got to whittle down. This gets rid of most of the dirt on the top too. Let's do this. Let's just, for the sake of trying to make sense of this, we're going to come to 16 and make a line. Or actually, let's see where 16 is. We think it's going to camp out around there. And I'm going to come to 17 and 8. Maybe I got another board there. Come to 18 and a quarter. And I think we'll take the top off it right here. It's going to be a big, heavy piece. All right, I'm going to drop down an inch to 17 and an eighth. We're going to take a full plank off. The reason right now that I kind of want to get it into a 16-inch cant is that then all I have to add up is what's down there. And we're going to be really close. Looks like we're going to get it. We're going to get a 16-inch cant out of this. So we'll come back. We're going to drop the 16, cut it there. So I think, numbers-wise, I think this is going to end up to be about a $400 job here, guys. I think we're going to get 400 board feet out of this, I think, easily. Now this face, I've got one knot in it right here. I got a couple of juvenile knots in it. Nothing serious. One little weird bark inclusion right here. It's not really a knot. So it is pretty clear. We're going to go ahead and spin it up from here, and then we're going to kind of start running the cleanest face until it bucks us, and mix up the material sizes. Because he does make all this stuff into three-dimensional, it doesn't really matter if I scar it up a little bit with the turner. But once we get it into a square, I can turn it just with the clamp. I don't know if this is going to be too heavy to do that or not. They don't like to really roll. I might have to do a combination here. We'll see. I'm going to come to 16 to start. We're going to clean out 17 legs, 18 and a quarter. You see what 18 and a quarter looks like on the side here. I think I might be able to get one more. It'll make it a lot lighter. So let's go to 19 and 3/8. Let's take it there. All right, I'm gonna drop down and take just a couple flitches off. This face here has 0 knots in it. We're gonna cut this face until we start to see knots, and then we'll flip it because there's only 1 knot in this face. So we're gonna try to get to 16, and we'll probably cut a little bit lower if we can. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take you guys off camera for a second. I'm going to go get rid of my slab wood. I'm going to bring a small bunk down here and set it off to the side. So when Brian does show up, I have a place to put these down, because I'm going to need the Bobcat to load him. So let me do that. Let me get rid of the slab wood, and We'll be right back. We'll keep cutting on this thing. This face right here is perfectly clear. All right, we are back. Lots has happened since you saw me last. Brian Carroll came, picked up his pole arm. That's all out of here, other than the sheathing that's going on the outside right here and the purlins that I haven't cut yet. But now I got all my bunks freed up. And this particular cant, I still have to take 2 boards off it to get the 16 by 16. When I hit my 16-inch cant, I know how many board feet I have in that. It's 317 board feet at 177 inches long. So this order is going to be over 400 board feet total. What I'm going to do is we are going to start sawing best face, best face, best face. And I'm going to take 2 more boards off the top of this right now to get me to 16 by 16. Those 2 boards I'm going to put over there because I don't know what I have over there for board feet, but I know what I have in the 16-inch cant. After that, all those boards out of the 16-inch cant is we're sawing best face and staying away from anything less than 10 inches wide. So you can't saw one face down till you're 8 wide and then cut 1 by 8s. Everything has to be over 10 inches, bigger the better. Even if there were 2 knots in one face, but it was nice and wide, and maybe 1 knot in a way more narrow face, I'd probably cut the wider face. But all the boards that come out of the 16-inch cant are going to go on the bunk that I set over here so that I can move it around. I have to deliver this order. He asked me if I would store it here for him and sticker it, and then he could come take whatever he wanted whenever he wanted. I don't like the idea of tying up one of my bunks, and I don't really have a good place to keep it, and I don't want it in my way. So I told him I'd deliver it to his house. He's not super far away, maybe 10 miles, and I'll charge him some little nominal fee, like $20 or something to drive it over there, unless he just wants to get into, oh, you got to stack it all, and you got to sticker it all, and anything like that. And then, of course, it's going to be a little bit more expensive. But what we're going to do right now, we're going to get back on milling this thing right after I take a look around the camera and make sure Danny's right behind that bobcat, which he is. So the bad part of this makes it the slow part of the process is that I kind of have to take a board off every cut because I got to look to see when the knots are going to start showing up. Because when you get down into the middle of this, there's going to be juvenile knots in there for sure. We want to keep cutting best face. That is going to slow things down. In the miracle and magic of editing, I will speed up as much as I can so that this video stays to be somewhat watchable. So let's get cutting. Save myself a teeny little bit of time here. So 1 by 12 by 14 feet long is obviously 14 board feet. If I add the 4 inches to it, it's another 4.6. It's 18.6, and these are a little bit over. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add 20 board feet to my 317, and I'm going to put these over there. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got really none in this face. 1. And some sort of little bark inclusion here. We'll take a look at the other side real quick. I'm not going to go all, there's more knots on this side. So I think what makes the most sense to do right now is flip this on its side and start taking some out of here. So that's what we're going to do. This face isn't bad. We're getting close to the center of the log is kind of in this quarter right here, the tip of the quarter. So in about 6 inches and down about 6 inches. So I'll have to keep an eye on that. It's a good face. I'm going to take 5/4 off this. So I'll show you what I'm dealing with. So if you look at this board here, you see you get that one knot right there. And there's some sort of little bark inclusion down there. The other thing's a piece of dirt. And look at what was under it. Now, juvenile wood's starting to show up. Looks like it's all within 6 inches of the, all sticking out from the pith. You see the pith is right there. That's all the juvenile wood. Now in this vase, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You got 7 knots in this vase. This vase, I only have 2. So we're going to flip this face up and we're going to cut that face. And we're probably going to take a 2-inch off this one. This face on this side over here has a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on this face. I'm at like 14 5/8 right now. I think for the sake of adding a 2 to this mix, I'm going to take a 2-inch off this right now. This band is still cutting really good. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6. I've got fewer knots in this face. 14 high and 14 5/8 wide. I think it just makes sense to flip it again and cut this better face. So I think you guys get the gist of what I'm doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this thing on hyperlapse and cut through the rest of that log. And again, 10 inches is my minimum, so I'll do it everything outside of 10 inches. I might even just quit at 12 inches. So I know right here on this bunk and sitting there, I have 334 board feet. What I did when I got down to really the most knotty part of the log, which was down near the center, and I got to 10 by 10, which is his minimum dimension, I cut it all at 4/4 because I have to be prepared that he might not want these, and I can use them for barn board for Brian's barn. So I cut it all at 4/4, something that I could use. Now, there are some parts of these that are pretty clear, especially for the size of stuff that he makes. But as you can see, there are a ton of little juvenile knots in there. And then it's pretty clear on this end without taking this whole stack apart. We don't really need to. And then what I have to do is I am going to take the bunk over here. I'll blow this all off, and one by one, I will get the board footage on each one and add it to my total board footage. I'll actually write the board footage on the pieces, and I will get all these loaded onto that, which will end up being on top of these, but I'm going to pull this whole thing off with the bobcat. and they'll be ready to be delivered. So obviously, and again, I apologize for the wind noise, guys, if there is any. We knew going into that, I knew going into that, the customer knew going into that, that entire log was not going to be free of any knots. Between what's on the ground over here and what's on the bottom of that stack, he got a lot of really big clear wood. This log is probably more than I don't know how many carvings he does a year, but this is probably going to be years of wood for him. I'm going to hope that in good faith, he's going to take it all. There's a possibility he'll give some of it to me back. And we did talk about that possibility. I told him that, you know, if there was some stuff that he absolutely couldn't use, I would use it for construction material around here. And I'm just going to make it so that when we go over there and pull these boards off, that I can easily add up stuff that he doesn't want and take it off the bill. Hopefully he's just going to pay me for the whole thing. If I was him, that's what I would do. And I would take it all. And he's got other art friends that do stuff that I'm sure that he could peddle some of this stuff to. There is obviously a bunch of 10-inch material there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 boards, I think. 9, 10. There are 10 boards at 10 inches. There are some boards in here at 19 plus. So I think we hit the spirit of what he wanted. You know, he wanted 4/4, 5/4, and 8/4. He's got all of those in here. Mostly clear, which for the most part, it's mostly clear. He wanted it all out of pine because he's a carver and that's what he likes to carve. This stuff's going to sit around and dry for him. I think he goes to Florida for the winter time, so this is going to sit around and dry while he's gone. By the time he gets back, it will be dry. He did say that he dries his stuff because he's worried about checking. And, you know, for the most part in pine doesn't check. So I don't really think he has to worry about that. But we're giving him a really good product. Way more wood than he's going to use in a long time. I didn't like the fact that I got so many 10-inch wide boards there, which is why I'm thinking I'm going to be bringing some of this back. It's just the way it worked out. I had to do it that way to keep sawing best face. I just didn't have a choice. And I didn't want to. I wanted to stop at 12. I think I said that in one of the previous clips here. I wanted to stop at 12 as a minimum, but I still had a good face that I could take off. And I think it was more important to take a clean face than it was to give him a whole bunch of naughty 12-inch boards. So that's the way it went. It's obviously, this is going to be a long video. I'm going to try to hyperlapse as much as I possibly can. Hopefully, for the few of you that hung on this long, God bless you. I appreciate it. Got my friend Shannon's hat on today, Temple Hill Sawmill. Thanks, Shannon, for the hat. Figure I'm going to wear it in some more videos so you can see it. Hopefully, Shannon, you held on this long so you can see it. Overall, it's been a good day. Sold a bunch of flitches over here. We got Brian's order out of here, or his structure for his pole barn out of here. And we got this big, huge monster log cut for this order done. And now we got to move over to milling some pitch pine. And I went and measured a trailer this morning, 18 foot. I'm not sure whether he's going to want pitch pine or whether he's going to want oak. I have to talk to him tonight, but I wanted to measure the trailer myself so I know what I'm cutting. It was all pressure treated before. He's got a pretty small company. It looks like it's more of a bobcat trailer than anything else. 14 footers and 4 footers. The 4 footers are recessed where you put your bobcat bucket. Kind of a cool little setup. I'd never seen one like that before. So we got to cut a bunch of pitch pine, or hopefully pitch pine, because we've got to cut some pitch pine for Josko Katapovich for his barn doors. And he needs them at least 8 inches wide. And the trailer, as I got it figured, if I mill it at 9 1/8, it works out almost perfect. If I mill it at 9 1/4, it comes out just like a shade big. So I think I'm going to mill the trailer, if I do it out of pitch pine, out of 9 1/4, and anything as I'm cutting those pitch pine logs, I don't have many decent ones for clear stuff. Josco needs clear stuff, so as I'm cutting that order, if I hit some clear boards, I can pull them out, and I'll probably have to cut 2 or 3 logs to cover his trailer. Probably 1 8-footer to cover the 4-foot section, and then a couple of 14 6s to cover the other side. It's only 9 boards, 1.5 inches thick. So it'll be 2 logs, smaller logs. I don't have any huge pitch pine right now. So I might have to go do some pitch pine shopping. I might have to go over to Ralph's and see if he's got any lying around his yard. I think I can cut it out of what I have here, but if I ran into a problem in one of those logs, it could be a problem. I have some other ones, some older ones that I could cut the center out of that would probably make up the difference, but I need to try to get some clear stuff for Josco too, and I need to see how many Josco needs. I think I've got one up there that's an 8-foot log that could be relatively clear, but I think it's going to go the same way as this one. It'll be clear on the outside, and then the closer you get to the center, you'll start seeing knots. And I don't know how many knots Josco is going to be okay with. He knows it's not going to be perfect, but he wants it to be an accent point on on his house. So, you know, he's going to get what he wants. If the boards don't work, I will keep cutting until I find stuff that does. So that's what's going on, guys. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Hit us up with comments. If you give us a thumbs up, if you like it, give us a thumbs down if you don't. Make sure you hit the little notifications bell so you know when a video comes out from us. You know, I do try to post almost every day, but rain has really messed me up in the last week. But I got to get kind of cleaned up here, get these moved over here, start sorting through the stuff that's on the ground, try to get this bunk put together and set off to the side so that this will be ready to go, and get in touch with Ken and let him know. Maybe, just maybe, I will get him over here to look at the wood before I load my truck. And it kind of stinks that they're 14-footers because that's a little bit too long for just going in the back, which means I'd have to throw them in the racks or I'd have to load my trailer. I think it'd probably be better just throw some bunks on my flatbed and take my trailer. It's kind of a pain in the ass to get it in where it goes, so I try to take it as little as I possibly can. Also, I'm going to ask Ken if those boards could be broken down. Look at that. It's fall. Stuck right to the side of my head. But anyway, again, thanks for the watch as always, and for now, Pirate Solutions out.